everyone is talking about that last 6 minutes of Nirmala Sitharaman's speech, where, of course, everybody was waiting for that. Direct taxes, is there a benefit for the salaried class? And what finally comes out of it? Everybody was thinking of this. This is the last full budget before the 2024 general elections. And are there SOPs for the salaried and the middle class? She certainly talked about that. What kind of changes has she brought about in that?
So for me, the interesting bit is one is what she's done is she's taken your new regime and made it way more attractive in multiple ways, right? And one of them is the standard deduction has been also raised for one if you earn above 15 lakh, but also the number of slabs, the 7 lakh, sorry. The major thing is, of course, the 7 lakh limit which has been put, where it said that if you earn up to 7 lakh, you don't have to pay any more tax, which is great for anyone who's starting out and just earning less than 7 lakh. But above that, what was also the case was that earlier you had up to 7 slabs for income tax, which has gone down to 5 now. And they are more, they are lower than what it is if you're in the old regime, right? So, which for me is very interesting because your incentive to change to the new regime is just so much higher now than it ever was.
What's also interesting is that there was a pointed question asked in the press conference in which the finance minister was asked how many people before today's budget speech, how many people had opted for the new tax regime? Because remember, so far it was voluntary. Now it's going to become the default tax regime system, but so far it was voluntary. Now, very, very interestingly, they've not chosen to answer that at all, saying that, let's not talk about retail tax payers, but as far as corporate tax is concerned, they've had more than 60% coming in from the exemption free tax, and that's how they put it. But again, now new tax regime becomes our default setting. She's also clarified that you can, of course, opt for the old tax regime, but like Arun, you were pointing out, there is now definitely an incentive to move to that.
Like I think if your income's less than 15 lakh, you're going to see a huge impact in terms of the taxation level because the old tax regime above 10 lakh and you're paying 30% as your income tax rate. Whereas if you're in the 12 to 15 bracket in the new tax regime, you pay 20%, which is a massive difference between the other one. So I don't think there's ever going to be a better time to switch to the new tax regime than this year. But that of course means that this tax thing is there now. We don't know if post election, if that budget the tax rate goes higher, then I don't know if this number will stay as attractive then.
And there was also something about is there good news for the super rich? And to what extent has that been addressed in the budget?
So they've reduced the highest surcharge rate from 37 to 25%, and that they say then means that the maximum tax rate goes down from 42% to 39%, which I mean, and this is, I believe, would be a measure to keep the super rich in India more pleased about not paying the highest tax rate in the world. I don't think any country wants to be that country which charges the highest tax rate because then the richest will have an incentive to move out, which this reduces partially at least.
Okay. Now, what we're also going to do is we're going to take you through some of the salary brackets. If you're making, certain salary in the existing regime, what would be the kind of tax you would be paying? And in the proposed new regime, what is the kind of tax that you would now be paying? I'm just going to read that out. So again, if your income is 5 lakh, in the existing regime, no tax. In the proposed new regime, no tax. Now, if your income goes up to 7 lakh because of, she talked about increasing that bracket, again, no tax. In the proposed new regime, also no tax. Now, suppose your income is 10 lakh rupees. In the existing regime, you would pay 75,400 rupees as income tax. Proposed new regime, you will end up paying 54,600 rupees. Let's go to the next one. We're jumping from 10 to 30 lakh now, and that's 6,78,600 rupees in the existing regime and 6,08,400 rupees in the proposed new regime. Now, of course, if you go a category higher and you go to 1.5 crore as your income, then 50,85,990 in the existing regime and 50,05,260 in the proposed new regime. So these are the kind of difference, or rather the gain that is there for the salaried class and also for people who are paying income tax. And finally, before we conclude, we just want to give you what is the income tax slab for 2023-2024 under the new tax regime. This is already part of our speech, but we just like to end with that so you know which tax regime and how much of tax will you have to pay on your income. So up to 3 lakh rupees, there is no income tax, there's nil. 3 to 6, the tax rate is 5%. 6 to 9, the tax rate is 10%. 9 to 12 lakh, the tax rate is 15%. And from 12 lakh to 15 lakh, the tax rate is 20%. And for above 15 lakh, the tax rate is 30%. So, of course, this was something that most people were waiting for. There will be a lot more analysis and details that you can also get from the Times of India's website.